off! There's a kid back there!
I'm in danger!
Yep, I'm here in 2023 making a Goku vs. Dante video. I know that both sides of this fandom, regardless of the outcome or what I say, will be upset with the outcome. Original Dragon Ball Z was one of the first anime I ever watched, and I have been reading Dragon Ball Super month to month and currently have all the volumes of Dragon Ball Super on top of all of Dragon Ball Z and the first 3 volumes of original Dragon Ball. I've loved the series for a very long time, as you can probably tell by now. And DMC is arguably my favorite video game series of all time next to Halo. I've played all the Devil May Cries and even 100% DMC 5, which I've never had the drive to do for any Dragon Ball game, or very many games in general. So again, DMC 5 alone is arguably my favorite game of all time. So no, this is not a video meant to slam or shit on either character or fandom, as both these characters and their respective series have meant a lot to me over the years. The biggest reason I'm making this video is the TikTok and YouTube short I posted on Goku vs. Dante, the one where I put no 5D plus metas, so nothing counting Goku's 5D plus scaling and not counting any of the 5D plus scaling for Dante, especially the mobile game screenshots, which are arguably not even real, or at least some of them are fake. Which leads to my first point of this video, and that is to debunk or at least call these scans into question. So I'm going to pass this next section off to a few friends of mine to explain this. One of them even having multiple hour-long debates, which one of them is recorded and posted on YouTube, so I will put the link in the description to that if you want to see it.
Hello everyone, I'm Ken, and today with my friend Kev, I'm going to be discussing the legitimacy of the Pinnacle of Combat skins. Say hi, Kev.
What's up, everyone? My name's Kev.
He has a YouTube channel, by the way. Don't forget to check that out for
yeah, I got a YouTube. It's just kind of
it's
dead.
kind of
But
sad that I have to promote the YouTube channel for him because he's too like shy, you know. But
yeah,
so as I said already, we're gonna discuss some scans that have been floating around the community for quite a while right now. And people on TikTok, Discord, among other platforms of the media, seem to be really convinced that the scans are legitimate. But I'm not so convinced. So Kev, what are some of the things that we're going to discuss about the scans that might seem really crystal clear to some people, but to us might not seem so legitimate? What do we have to say?
all right. Thanks for passing it on to me. You know, my baby daddy. Anyway, basically, just looking at these scans, they look like normal scans, I guess, for Devil May Cry. They apparently have like some conceptual scaling, 9th dimensional stuff, even a measurable speed, etc. But there's just a lot to go over here, man. So just like one basic thing to point out. We have these, like, if we compare the 9th dimensional stuff, for example, and even the measurable speed scan, we have this long line of text, right? All these line of text, like 5 to 6, 7 lines of like Japanese wording or Chinese wording, whatever the fuck, right? And then we have like the ones that we could actually verify within the game, and which are like 2 to 3 sentences long or lines long or whatever. It's like already kind of suspicious. And the ones with like the really high end scaling for Devil May Cry, they seem to like not be verifiable within the game itself.
So from the get-go, we can see a lot of inconsistencies coming from those scans, which is not a good sign whatsoever. For one, the lines of text are completely shorter on the ones that are verifiable. The ones that are non-verifiable, or the ones that are being claimed to be legitimate, like the 9th dimensional or immeasurable speed stuff, have complete long lines of text that don't even seem to align very well with the consistency of the lines of text, which is like around 2 lines of text at most. But the ones that really wank or really seem to give a high-end interpretation of the verse power seem to be like to 4 to 5, at some points even 6 lines of text, which in a consistent standpoint like doesn't really line up whatsoever. Another thing that is really hard to like go past by is the fact that some of the scans, especially the immeasurable speed one, you can clearly see that the text is formatted in a very different way. But what I mean by this is that you can clearly measure the distance that the text is from the background image. In the measurable speed ones, we can clearly see that the line of text is way more compacted or way smaller than the consistency or pool of consistency that comes from the original scans or the ones that can be found within the game, which should already like give you some signs that these scans have to be put under certain scrutiny. Otherwise, it wouldn't be really genuine.
We're not trying to cherry pick or anything. We're just giving all this information out just because it's like really hard to verify these scans in the game. And when we actually try to look for them, like we have like an entire crew of like people, our friends and everything, get in the games. Like we have to like literally go and like change our settings into like China settings or whatever for the Play Store, Google Play, whatever we use, just to like, download the game and try to look for these scans, right? So, and we happen to never see these scans, and we only see the ones that are appearing on screen, which are a lot shorter and like a lot shorter lines of text or whatever, while the other ones are just like, yeah, they're just not verifiable. So this is why we're even like pointing this out in the first place. We're not trying to cherry pick at all. It's just, you know, really suspect to the least.
Yeah. And another thing that should really raise some red flags for you guys is the fact that if you really boil it down and really go to compare the text and what it's actually saying, you will notice a very particular pattern repeats with the scans that are verifiable and then the ones that are just like giving this high interpretation of the verse. You'll see that the ones that are verifiable are under tips. Of course, all the scans are supposed to be tips, but the verifiable ones, the ones with the shorter lines of text, do give like some context or some form of help for the player to help them advance in the game, or just give some general details, nothing too complex, some general idea about the game. Like, for example, one would like say, you are like in this area of the game, this place is haunted, or give you some really general lore of the game, nothing too complex, or straight up just tell you how to beat a boss or how to do better, perform better in a certain boss fight, if anything.
Yeah.
But if you go to the immeasurable speed scan or the 9th-dimensional soul scans, and all these scans that are really long length, all these scans that are really weirdly formatted, and you will notice that they're hyper specific with everything they say. Oh, comes from a 9th-dimensional eightfold path in the 9th dimension and returns to the Buddhist, and like I'm exaggerating it, but you get what I'm saying. They're being hyper specific when there's a preponderance of evidence with the other scans that are actually verifiable, that just shows that these are actual game tips. The scans that actually just wank the verse are nothing similar to game tips whatsoever. And that should really raise some flags for you guys. So now that we have posited the potential of the scans being more than likely fake, I'd like to go over some arguments that some people would like to propose in defense of these scans at this point. So let's imagine that all the evidence that we proposed so far is not actually evidence, or that we haven't proposed any kind of evidence. And let's say that I'm just like opening it with a skeptical argument, saying that, or just being doubtful about the scans in general, saying like, okay, what is the evidence to say that they're real? You're asserting that the scans are real because you're posting them as evidence to suggest that Dante is of a certain level, therefore you have to be asserting that the scans are real. So a lot of people, unknowingly, would try to respond to this by saying like, okay, I just already showed the scan. I already showed that the scan exists. So what is the evidence that the scan is fake? So this is not only shifting the burden of proof, because you're trying to assert that until I prove that it is fake. I have to prove that it is fake for it to like be validated. You're also making an appeal to ignorance at that point, which is basically asserting the negation is true when the positive is like is not proven, or vice versa, asserting the positive is correct or true when the negation is not proven. Both cases fall under an appeal to ignorance. Both cases are just fallacious, because anything that can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. The same goes with the scans. If you assert that the scans are in the game, then I will expect you to at least be able to provide evidence that the scans do exist within the game. And with the reasoning that I already provided for why the scans are fishy to begin with, I am within the right to do so. So most people would try to avoid this, saying that it's ratty, whatever, but at the end of the day, we already posited like the evidence to suggest that the scans are not real, or that they are fishy at the very least. So it seems to me that it's very reasonable within the situation.
So with that out of the way, let's actually get to the scaling. For Dante, we will be using the novels, games, guides from said games, manga, and anime to scale him. And for Goku, we will be using the manga, anime, guides, and with very few references to the games. First, we are going to start with Dante's attack potency. Now, the most common scale used for Universal Dante would be his fight with Mundus. Mundus being someone who can create an infinitely expanding universe with the flap of his wings. This being someone that Dante doesn't really have any trouble with. And it's even stated that as early as DMC3, Virgil could have defeated Mundus or at least been a massive threat to him at full power. Dante actually beating Virgil in their final battle, and after a certain point is shown to be relative to Virgil. Mundus does have more scaling than this, however. It's stated that after consuming the fruit of the Qliphoth in DMC5, he killed the former king of the underworld. Pluto separated the original universes into two separate universes, which these worlds are stated infinite, with objects from the games showing that certain things are infinite or endless. The demon world also constantly being stated to have energy within that Mundus manipulates to control time in varying aspects. The fact that Mundus is stated above Pluto, who can split an infinite time space to form two infinite time spaces, would put Mundus on a 4D scale, as he would be affecting the time-space. Creatures within the underworld, like Nightmare, even threaten to destroy the underworld, and beings like Argosax being able to fuse the demon and human world by simply existing. The DMC2 game's villain even stating that he'd transcend all while fusing the universe back together if he gained Argosax's power. Dante being so far above Argosax, who is stated Mundus' equal, to the point he forgets who Argosax is as he was that weak to him. There is also the fact that there's a Mundus from an alternate timeline that exists as an endless void, which when he died collapsed the whole endless void, possibly the whole time space. It's safe to say that Dante is well within this universal plus to 4D category, as he's massively above beings who can split infinite time spaces and even destroy these infinite or endless spaces by dying. Dante's transformations have been stated throughout guides to be dozens of times of an amp, with items that he gains throughout the games, which he arguably doesn't use or has surpassed in later games. Earlier games saying that he gets over 10 times stronger with his transformations, and then there's Sin Devil Trigger, which is so far above Devil Trigger that it allows Dante to body Urizen, who could body him at full power without even trying. Now, we move on to Goku. Goku's scaling is already very well known within the community. Everyone knows about Goku clashing with Beerus and almost destroying the Universe 7 macrocosm. It's stated that both possess the power to destroy said universe and were matching each other. It's stated through multiple guides like the Daizenshu to be infinite, and even stated by Koyama, the writer for the Z and Kai anime. There are debates and debunks on whether Koyama is a proper source, even though Toriyama admits himself that others are more qualified than he is in some areas. Not to mention he writes the anime where some of these statements are made. Or the debate on whether the Dragon Ball universe is actually infinite, considering Bulma's statement about the universe's edge. This statement is kind of squashed down, so to speak, by the multitude of evidence saying that the universe is infinite, with more modern statements from Koyama saying as much as well. There is also a video that I saw a while back which explains how infinity can have an edge to it, so there is that, I guess. Since Goku would be destroying multiple infinite-sized time spaces within the macrocosm, as it's stated in the anime, he is going to reduce it to a empty void of nothing. This would also put him in that universal plus to 4D range of attack potency, just like Dante. This is even further supported by Goku stating he could have dealt with Infinite Zamasu at full strength. Zamasu was spreading throughout the whole timeline and even bleeding into other timelines. Not to mention that he surpasses a suppressed Jiren, who was stated to be the strongest person they've ever faced, and it was said by the Supreme Kai, who's seen and felt Infinite Zamasu. I'm not going to be using the statement of Jiren surpassing time itself to say that he transcends time and space to make him over 4D, as that is arguably the most debated topic within Dragon Ball, so I'm not going to use that one. You could take this scaling a step further and even say Goku is 5D, his battle with Broly was super dimensional. Just use basic scaling during the Granola arc to scale Gas using the Wish to be the strongest in the universe, which would put Gas above the Broly that got beat by Gogeta. Goku with MUI scaling to Gas, and True UI even being able to overpower Gas for a period. I will admit that this area is heavily contentious as well, but regardless, Goku would be in the Universal Plus to 4D category just like Dante, with arguments for 5D that have been contentious for a long time. And just like Dante as well, Goku has transformations, which the sets of Super Saiyan are a 400 times amp to his base, which is already in that Universal Plus to 4D range. And then there is Super Saiyan Blue in V-Jump guides that is stated to be going Super Saiyan on top of God, and then an unperfected UI being above Goku using Blue Kaioken times 20. All of this letting Goku get hundreds of thousands to millions of times stronger with transformations alone from his base form. I think speed here may be the most contentious part of this video, as it can go a multitude of different ways. Since we started with Dante last time, we're going to continue / start with Goku for speed. Granola is straight up stated to be faster than instant teleportation, which would grant Granola infinite speed at the bare minimum, Goku matching and massively surpassing that Granola by the arc's end. You can also argue that Goku has inaccessible speed as well, considering he was able to move in a space completely devoid of time. Infinite speed being able to move an infinite distance within a set amount of time without the use of teleportation, and inaccessible speed being essentially the same thing, but being able to move an infinite distance when there is no time, outside of time, or where time doesn't flow. Even this is heavily debated as well, whether it's on the infinite speed or inaccessible speed side. Now, I personally don't believe in the immeasurable speed arguments for Dragon Ball, whether it be Jiren surpassing time or Goku breaking through Hit's time skip. Mostly that argument comes from the manga stating Hit goes forwards in time. There also is the anime argument where Goku is speaking to King Kai, and we get this statement.
When you were predicting his moves, you weren't just guessing. You were forcing your way into the future for an advantage, weren't you? Yeah, so?
So me personally, I see Goku to be within that infinite to inaccessible speed range. The speed of Devil May Cry has always been more of a weird subject. Dante has always been fairly fast in his own verse. He can react to and defeat Furies, which have gotten so fast that they use demonic energy to make space-time jumps. I do quickly want to debunk or at least give another interpretation of the Fury scan as well as this other Argosax scan. First, I will cover the Fury. People try to argue that this scan makes the Furies immeasurable, or that they have immeasurable speed. It says that all it thinks about is speed, that it's gotten so fast that it doesn't move on its own power. It's stated that it makes space-time jumps and warps right next to you. This can be interpreted as teleportation, as it directly states that it warps next to you. At best, this would grant infinite or even inaccessible speed if you use that interpretation, and want to wank it a bit. And the same goes for the Argosax scan. Most of the translations for this scan say roughly the same thing, that this is either instantaneous movement or an ability which he uses, which, same as the Fury scan, It likely makes us infinite speed at best. The reason people try to say that this is a measurable speed is because it says that he transcends distance and time, which isn't necessarily wrong as you're going above the normal limits of distance and time with teleportation. It's kind of like saying that Minato from Naruto has infinite to immeasurable speed because it is stated that his teleportation transcends space-time. So there is more context to Argos Hax in this scenario that proves it's more than likely not immeasurable speed. It's always been hard to pinpoint the speed of Devil May Cry. While there are inaccessible arguments, they can be debunked. One of them being that Dante can move in stop time. But this can be debunked by the fact that demons use demonic magic or energy which already warps time and affects it in different aspects. Time stop within the games not working on beings that are too strong, and throughout the games, Dante is finding items or more skills which are higher degrees of time stop. If there are more inaccessible arguments, then feel free to post them along with the source in the comments, as I'd personally like to have them. So now that the physical aspect of the video is done, let's move on to the hacks of both characters. And I think Dante takes the category in quantity of hacks, regeneration being his biggest hacks as he can survive some really crazy stuff, ranging from being shot point blank in the head, being stabbed, cut up with weapons that can cut through space-time, and many others. There's even the possible argument that Virgil, and by extension Dante, can survive having their soul destroyed, this all being based on Scan, which says that after Virgil is defeated in DMC1, that the light of his voice dies out, or the glow of his voice, and that his body disappears without a trace. Dante has various forms of fear inducement and empathetic manipulation, can reach absolute zero temperatures with Cerberus, precognition and cosmic awareness to a certain degree, as he can sense intent from across dimensions, and when fighting someone named Chen, who can see all throughout time. Non-physical interaction going off of alternate timeline mundus, various forms of time manipulation with multiple skills and items, power nullification with a darkness ability he shows in the manga, resistance to various forms of soul manipulation, instinctively react to attacks, and much more. So it's entirely safe to say that Dante has the overall quantity of abilities. But what about Goku? Goku hasn't really been known for just random hacks abilities. Sure, he can read minds and possibly even erase someone from existence with a bootleg Hakai, but Goku's main hacks is literally just his raw power, as this one hacks overpowers other haxes. This has been shown a multitude of times with Goku breaking through time-based abilities, attacking people while they are in different dimensions.
To be exact,
Sword? How?
in a temporary space-time parallel to ours. You might think of it as a pocket dimension.
He's shattering the pocket thingy!
In the games, he's said to be able to resist magic with God Key, resist teleportation against his will, resist wishes that can possibly warp reality as well. It's just been shown all throughout the series that being stronger than your opponent grants a resistance to many forms of Hax abilities. Basically, Dante has the quantity, while Goku has the quality. And the only reason I say quality is because he has one Hax, so to speak, which negates a lot, if not most, of the Haxes that Dante has. Now, both characters have incredible skill and adaptation. Both characters have insane levels of adaptability. Dante has been shown many times throughout the series to be able to adapt and overcome people who are massively above him in skill, and has been shown that even when goofing off, he can do things extremely skilled. And he's defeated once again beings which can see through time, beat demons specifically made to counter him, and has instinctual reactions along with much more. Goku also being insanely skilled as well. As a child, he already had training in Kung Fu, and he's been stated to be the best martial artist on Earth, or greatest, above the likes of Gohan and Master Roshi, who both are stated to have mastered every martial art. Master Roshi having broken the wall of humanity and become a master who is above Gohan, who's stated to be a master in all martial arts. Has had precognition since he was a kid, can fight via only predicting air currents, and has even been able to fight blind or with minimal senses, can predict people who can freeze/move forward in time, predicting where they will be and what kind of attack they will make, while also being able to hyper-analyze his opponents since early Dragon Ball. So it's safe to say that in terms of raw skill, Goku has that edge over Dante. Earlier I mentioned Dante being able to adapt and overcome opponents stronger and way out of his league in skill, but the same can be said for Goku and Saiyans in general. As in terms of power adaptability, Saiyans can destroy their past selves in just a few minutes when being pushed to their limits, and have been said throughout the series to be insane when it comes to their power potential. Goku may have, and probably does have, the better power adaptability, while Dante and Goku both have similar adaptability in general. Ultra Instinct, however, would give Goku a massive advantage, as it kind of negs precognition to an extent, and even stops beings from perceiving his vital points, and gets rid of his emotions, as his mind can't be read when in this form either. Although True UI, which is his current strongest form, allows Goku to use his emotions, and is even stronger than Mastered Ultra Instinct. Although Goku has a very short time frame in which he can use it, which I think everyone can agree that Dante has it in spades, and then some, as he can fight for over a month straight on and off with Virgil, and has been stated to literally only need a breath or two to regain some of his power. Even in DMC5, after being knocked out for weeks, was able to get up and fight his way all the way over to getting Sparta, fight hordes of demons and demon generals, on top of fighting Urizen 3 separate times before getting bested by Virgil. Then going all the way up the Clifod and fighting Virgil again with not much rest in between. Even in DMC3, he's fighting his whole way up a tower, almost died multiple times, and fought Virgil more than once, who was above him in most of the encounters, and doing all this within a short time frame as well. Sure, Goku has trained for days without rest, but in an all-out battle he doesn't last nearly as long. You could argue he has a larger pool of energy to draw from, but even then Dante would take the edge in stamina regardless of what you argue for Goku. So, let's make a little stat block here and see who has what over the other, going off of the information that I presented. In terms of attack potency, both are within the same universal plus to 4D category. Goku likely being higher in said categories, considering he can make himself hundreds of thousands to possibly millions of times stronger via transformations. Speed, like I said, is the most arguable, as both characters are bare minimum MFTL+, with both having infinite speed scaling. If you go with the avenue of Goku having inaccessible speed, then he would likely have the speed advantage. This, however, is still heavily contentious. Even so, speed increases with power in Dragon Ball. So, even if they are in the same tier, Goku likely has the higher speed of whichever tier they are in, whether it be infinite, inaccessible, or massively faster than light. Ability and Hax quantity would go to Dante, quality of Hax to Goku, stamina to Dante, adaptability would go to both characters, with arguments to be made on both sides, Goku likely just having the better power adaptability. Skill would go to Goku, so they would be the same in battle IQ, with Dante having higher IQ. Just looking over these alone, on paper at least, this is an incredibly close fight. The only thing being is that Goku would likely be stronger and faster, with both characters improving as the fight goes on. This does bring up the question, if Goku could even kill Dante, which, if you go back to where I brought up Virgil regenerating from being gone without a trace and having the glow in his voice be destroyed, then it's possible that Goku can't actually kill Dante unless he were to use the Hakai, which isn't really even in character for Goku, and it's not like he's very good at it at all. Although it did take Virgil years to recover from DMC 1 to 5, and even then he had to take back the Yamato, separate his human half, and eat a Clifod fruit to gain any real strength back. So Goku's main win con would just be to take Dante out of commission for a large amount of time, while Dante can actually kill Goku. So he could either incapacitate him, or just straight up kill him, while Goku has to go for incapacitation, or to be able to take him out of the fight for an extended period. I think Goku could get the win, as he is possibly, massively, or at the bare minimum, a decent bit stronger than Dante, and would only get stronger while being able to overpower a lot of Dante's Haxes. If you think they are more relative, Dante could outlast Goku if you don't think Goku could improve faster than Dante. So what do you all think? I'm personally fine with either character being able to win this fight, as I'm a huge fan of both characters. But it all boils down to opinion at this point, as a lot of the information is subjective to both sides of the fandom. Leave down in the comments who you think would win, and I hope to see you all in the next one.